This is Michael McKeon, aka Morris Fletcher, aka Chuck McGill. You know who I am. But it's time for Inside the Gilliverse with Eric Broadbent.
You're watching Inside the Gilliverse, talking all things Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul. Brought to you by the Royal Baubles Collection at bobbleheads.com. For all your favorite characters from the Gilliverse, shop the Royal Baubles Collection at bobbleheads.com. Also brought to you by Rode Microphones, the official microphone supplier of Inside the Gilliverse. See their entire lineup today at rode.com. Now please welcome your host, Eric Broadbent.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Season 2, Episode 9 of Inside the Gilliverse, where we talk all things Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul. My name is Eric Broadbent, and it comes with great pleasure to welcome back a good friend. You know her as Betsy Kettleman from Better Call Saul and so many other fantastic productions. We'd love to have her back. She's not in character tonight. We don't even know where Betsy is. We'll find out later. Our good friend, Julie Ann Emery. Julie Ann, how are you?
I'm good. Betsy is somewhere in the recesses of my mind tonight. We'll try to keep her contained.
Yes, I think we might need to do that, or we'll also have to call security or something of the nature. You know, it's great to have you back, and I appreciate you accommodating our schedule. We had to do a bump with you earlier, and thank you so much for accommodating. It's nice to have you back, and I think tonight we're just going to fanboy and fangirl out over this great show that you were a part of, and we all love, and we'll talk about that, plus some of your other work. We've got some fan questions about some of your other projects as well, too, and say hi to a bunch of wonderful people on the chat. I was telling you a little bit about the Gilliverse family off the air, and you know what it's like. The people love this.
I love it. I am a fangirl of this universe. So, imagine getting that phone call that you're going to be on Better Call Saul or the Breaking Bad spinoff. Yeah, I mean, I can fangirl with everybody else.
It's good. It's just it's a nice thing, and it's a bittersweet thing too. I mean, we're approaching the series finale and another closed door on the Gilliverse chapter. And we'll talk about some theories later on as well too. I'm gonna pick your brain about some theories, some fan theories, some character theories, and just what you're thinking about towards the end of the season as well too. Something I was talking about the other night. I did a live stream, and I think you'll appreciate this. I wanted to show some fan artwork on my music live stream last Wednesday, and I was trying to tilt my camera just a little bit. You can probably see, you yourself may not be able to see 100%, but the fans can see some of these posters that Vince Gilligan sent me. But I also had some beautiful artwork. And usually when someone comes on the show, almost every time, some of these great fans and talented artists will do drawings of the guests. And so there's an artist on Twitter. She goes by the name of Arctic Sakai, and I promised I'd show it tonight, and I think you'll appreciate this. So she did a digital drawing of, this one is of Hector Salamanca.
Oh my, that is gorgeous.
Yes. So that's
captures him perfectly.
I know.
It captures his essence.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Signed on the back and sent that to me. And then she also did, so this is for you, Arctic Sakai. We want to make sure
There's a copy of that to the writer's room. I don't know. Have you ever seen the art the fan art board in the writer's room?
Yes. Oh yeah.
It's just amazing. And they keep fan art all over the writers' offices, the production offices.
They do, yeah. And they love it. As a matter of fact, I was able to help get a couple pencil sketches from one of our good friends, Ragava. He did one of Peter Gould. Peter loved it. And Ragava, if you're watching this evening too, I've got an address I'll give you to send for Vince Gilligan as well too. So, and we're going to get one of Arctic Sakai sent to that she did with our good friend. Andrea in Germany. So here's another one too. This is the Salamanca twins.
Oh, nice. That's like a comic book.
Yeah, I know.
That's like the art we used to get for Preacher. There are such talented artists around out there doing stuff. That is gorgeous.
Yeah, I wanted to show that off because these fans are so talented. We want to make sure.
How appropriate to put those two characters in a comic book like setting.
I know, right?
That's so perfect. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It is. So I wanted to talk about a few things that since the last time you've been here, I think when you were here, obviously in character before with Tom and obviously with Jeremy as well too.
I gave Tom a hard time.
I know, that was the best, right? Oh, I know. I'm glad it was him and not me. I honestly, I'm glad you guys picked on him. I just was pushing the buttons and stuff.
Once you go into the Betsy improv land, she was driving the car. It was only after the fact that I was like, oh shit, I really gave Tom a hard time. I should email him right now. Like,
Tom's got Tom has the thickest skin of anybody I know, and he has the most warped sense of humor too. So I mean, I don't really think
I wasn't like thinking about it as Julie at all. Like in the midst of what we were talking about. Yeah.
If I had to live with Betsy Kettleman, I don't know what I would do. I don't think she would have beat me up mentally. And I just don't think I could handle it. I mean, I would literally have to run as far away from her as fast as I could.
You know, I think the Kettlemans are soulmates. I think the Kettlemans found each other. Like, he's the only person who could live with her. And Vince said something to Jeremy when we were shooting the pilot episode of the very first episode of Better Call Saul. We were shooting that scene in the diner, and we did a lot of character exploration that day. We had extra time to shoot the first episode, and Vince came in at one point and he looked at Jeremy and he said, I don't think he knows how to put on his socks without her. and I was like, I think he needs her and she needs him. Like, they really found each other. And you know what? I got it. Just because I saw this handsome man's name in the chat. This Kevin fellow, he's over in the chat. So speaking about soulmates, welcome. Hi, Kevin.
Yes, welcome, Kevin, to the show. And you guys, I've said this to you personally in an email. You guys are a real inspiration to me. And I think you're an inspiration to a lot of people. You guys are just so happy. You know, I mean, singing in harmonies and just it's really warming for sure. I really look up to you guys.
You know, we met in college and we've been together since college. Mm-hmm. We've lived together since junior year of college. Our business is hard enough and dramatic enough. Like what we do, the life outside is hard and dramatic enough for us. We like peace and happiness in our home if we can have it with each other. Yeah.
Well, it definitely an inspiration, and I know we all love seeing your tweets and and following both of you. Kevin's an awesome guy, and I haven't really had a chance to interact with him, but Kevin, it's awesome, man. Here's a question right off the hop here from Andrea. This is one of the ones I was telling you helped Arctic Sakai do this really cool picture of Nacho, and that's going to go to Vince Gilligan, by the way. She says, as Sylvia Reese, you were in the series Bosch, and I haven't seen Bosch yet. We'll talk about Bosch tonight. How did you find it that Max Arciniaga had a role in the first of the Bosch seasons? Did you know that Max was in that?
I did because Annie Wershing played a very large character in season 1 called Brasher, and she's a dear longtime friend. So I did know he was in it. I never crossed over with him in the Better Call Saul universe, mm-hmm. like in the sort of Breaking Bad universe. So I don't, and I never crossed over with him in Bosch. But there's, I also played a big recurring role. Sylvia Reese was a season-long recurring role on Bosch for season 6, and then I'll be back for some episodes in season 7 as well.
Oh, good.
But I did a 5-episode arc on major crimes as well, and Raymond Cruz, who plays
Tuco.
Who played? I played opposite him. Like we were partnered. I got partnered with him, and then I was his love interest for a little bit. Like my whole arc was with Ray Cruz, and I had just come off of Better Call Saul when I went to do that. So I've had a lot of. I feel like I've had a lot of crossover. It's not surprising. Sharon Bialy and Sherry Thomas are the casting directors for Breaking Bad and for Better Call Saul, El Camino,
Walking Dead.
They really. They know all the best actors. I mean, they have such good taste in actors. I feel like I'm like, that's humble bragging on myself, but really I'm just honored to ever be in their room. And because they have such good taste, and because they, when I met Sherry, she was still casting some theater on the side because she loves theater. So like when you love actors that do things like theater, then you love actors that have craft. So then you're gonna get a lot of people like Giancarlo. You're gonna get a lot of people that are gonna cross over in a lot of universes. You're gonna get people that shows like to populate their series with because they bring something 3-dimensional to what they're doing.
I agree, and I know for a fact you weren't bragging, humble bragging or anything, but it's to look at the fact that you yourself and some of these other fine, talented actors are on the speed dial of those incredible women. Is pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
It's an honor. Like, also on the flip side of that, every time I just did an audition that I sent in for them, I pay special attention to. I never want to let them down.
No.
You know, I know that they believe in me. I know they see my work. Like, sometimes as an artist, as any kind of an artist, visual, performing, whatever, not everybody is going to get you, right? Or see you. It's a subjective business. It's a subjective, even for fans. Like, some fans are really drawn to some people, and then other fans hate that character or whatever. But because they understand my work and they see it and they like it and they're supportive, I always go for a grand slam with them if I can, for whatever they're casting. And anything they're casting that gets sent my way, it's an automatic yes for me. Like, because, you know, they have the same kind of taste in choosing the projects they're working on, right? And they have the same kind of taste in what directors and creators and producers and writers they partner with. So that's always a sandbox that you want to play in.
Well, for someone like yourself and Kevin too, that write and produce and you know, direct as well, you know what goes into all of that, and that helps you a little bit as well. And with your career that you've had up till now as well, and a great career ahead of you, you know, it's not like to say that you're picking and choosing, but you have an advantage over some actors that are just getting into the business, and really they may take anything that comes their way, or, you know, you have the luxury of saying, I don't think that's for me.
And look, I've been there and we've both been there where we had no choice. We just needed jobs. And the truth is that there's no moment when you get past that as an actor. The truth is that when you are an actor or singer for a living, you work job to job. You're a freelancer. So sometimes you have the money in the bank to be choosy, and sometimes you don't. You know, I mean, some years are very good and you can be pickier about things, and some years you can't. So that's not a very artistic way to put it. My agents would like it if I always spoke financially like that, but I generally, look, if I like the writing and I like a character, I generally will jump in the pool even if it's for a nickel. So
sure.
Now my team has other ideas than that, but I feel that Sherry and Sharon, just to bring it back around to them, the casting directors are very similar. Like, I get auditions for little indie films for them, but they're so good.
Yeah.
And if I look up the director, they're so good, you know? So, like, they've got such a wide range of what they do, but it's always with an artistic and a creative eye. So, yeah, I do feel really lucky when I am in a position to say, this is not for me right now.
Yeah. That's good.
Maybe if I'm broke at some point. But you know where your line is. And I always had those lines. Like, there are all kinds of lines when you're looking at material. Like, there are nudity lines. Like, I used to have a little, like, these are my nudity guidelines. And if it doesn't meet this criteria, there's no way I'm even going to entertain it. Like,
good for you.
There's I have COVID lines for myself. Like, do they have, you know, shooting during COVID is challenging, and it costs an enormous amount of money. They on Bosch, for example, for season 7, they were testing every single crew member every single day. So that's a lot of money, right? So during COVID, does your project have the budget, the money, and is it producers that I know and trust or have a track record to keep me and the crew and everyone involved safe right now? So that's a real question. Is there a system in place for them? Are they part of a studio? So there's, you know, there's always little considerations outside of, if I love a character,
yeah.
Once they send it to me, if I love the character, then it's hard to talk me out of anything.
Yeah, well, you're so good at bringing the...
I like interesting women. I like complicated women. You know, bring me all the crazy women. I will treat them well and love them.
Well, maybe it's some of the Betsy Kettleman that's deep inside you. Maybe, I don't know what it is, because you just want to talk about a crazy woman. So maybe you can channel some Betsy from time to time to...
Betsy seemed really crazy when we were shooting season 1. There were examples of the Kettlemans that we talked about when we were developing them. Like, there was the governor, was it Virginia or West Virginia? He and his wife were getting all these gifts, like millions and millions of dollars. They were kind of being indicted at the time. And there was this city council in California, this little town south of LA, and they all got arrested for paying themselves. They were in this broke little community, and they were each paying themselves like $250,000 a year to sit on the city council. Ooh. And that's more than senators make.
I know, right?
U.S. senators.
Yes.
So like they really didn't think they did anything wrong. And there were all these interviews on NPR that you could click on and listen to for them. I feel like now Betsy doesn't seem as crazy as a lot of what we've seen in our world since season 1 of Better Call Saul. I mean, there's a lot of crazy Karens out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, too many.
I mean, they should be called Betsy's. I don't know, but there's a lot of there. We're seeing a lot of people. I don't know where I'm from. They say show your ass. They say show your butt.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of people sort of show that inner angst and anxiety and their inner crazy right now out loud. And Betsy was just showing it out loud. Like, I wonder how she would play if season 1 was happening right now.
Yeah, I know, right? And under a pandemic.
I mean, at the time it seemed so nuts. And then since then, especially the last year and a half, I keep seeing things on Twitter, these videos and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Betsy. Like,
I know, right? Totally.
I mean, we were prescient. Like, Vince and Peter had a crystal ball or something.
It's like, we always talk about the Simpsons seeing the future. I think Vince and Peter, they had, like you say, a crystal ball. We've got some really awesome super chats coming in. And after we get through some of the super chats, I'm going to go to some of those audio questions I told you about. We've got questions from Karina, Lori, Kathy Lattis, and Sharon D by audio questions. So here is a super chat from Saul Goodman Twitter. That's Chris. It's not really a question. He's just, and you've seen him on there. He's been going through a real
Chris,
rough.
I hope you're feeling better.
Yes, he's getting some support and love from the Gilliverse and some financial support from some of his as well too. Just saying hi to people in the chat. Love Eric, and a big hi to Julie Ann. Thank her for the motivation she gave me for the last few months. Awesome. He's a good guy, and he's always giving to us, and that's why, to all of us, I should say. So that's why we like to share the love back for him and wish him well. Super chat from Harini says, "Hi Julie, big fan of you. My question: the character Betsy Kettleman is definitely a difficult person, but what is one quality that you like about her?" Very, very good question.
There is no lack of perseverance in Betsy. She sees something through way past where it should stop, but there's no lack of perseverance. And honestly, also, she loves her family with her whole self. I mean, you can call her controlling when it comes to her family, but it's all born out of love. It's all born out of, if everybody does what I tell them to do, nope, Betsy, go back. if everybody does what she tells them to do, then everybody will be safe. Right? Then everything will be fine. Everybody will be safe and be successful, and things will turn out well. Like, she really, truly, look, she's not the one who running for office.
No.
She's not the one who is she is happy to be the pusher, to sit in the background and try to create these lives for the people in her family. Yeah.
That's well said.
And boy, she's got insane amounts of perseverance. I mean, you just got to love that about her.
I know. Yeah, she definitely protects the family. There's no doubt about that, for sure. We're going to jump to another super chat question, then maybe we'll do some audio questions. This is from Rugava, and I was mentioned to you, mentioned Rugava's name. He did the wonderful drawings of Peter Gould and Vince Gilligan pencil sketch, which is amazing. It says, "Hi Julie, big fan of your performance. What were some memorable experiences during shooting Better Call Saul, and also if you can share what was one of your favorite scenes in the show?"
So, because we were there in season 1 and we were there for the first episode, like we were there right from the beginning, it was such a beautiful thing to be involved in how that universe was blossoming and getting figured out. And Vince and Peter and everyone involved, they're so generous of spirit, as people and creatively. And that was really thrilling to be part of, and to be part of that early cast. I feel like I formed bonds with Ray Seahorn and Patrick, and I formed bonds with everyone, Jonathan Banks, like in ways that I don't know would have happened in later seasons.
Wow.
Like once they had already been rolling, like we were all, because we were there for in the beginning, we were all trying to figure it out together, because the tone is not the same. I mean, Breaking Bad's tone was Bryan Cranston, right? It was, and it shifted as his character with his character's arc.
Mm-hmm.
And the same is true of Better Call Saul. Like the tone of Better Call Saul is, well, Jimmy and then Saul. It's that's his world. So that was really, really special. And having the time, I've never done television work where we actually did character exploration on set. Jeremy and I worked very closely together in ways that you don't ever get to do on camera. Usually, I mean, hopefully you meet each other, but I do my work at home and somebody else does their work at home, and we show up on set and we hope that it goes together, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Jeremy and I, because the Kettlemans were so tricky to find where they lived, you know, they're you want to be in the pocket when you're an actor, and most of the time the pocket is about this big.
Okay.
The Kettlemans, the pocket is about this big, and anything outside of that is just bad acting.
Okay.
Right, but if you can be in that pocket, and I couldn't find that pocket without Jeremy. Like, especially early on, I couldn't find Betsy I couldn't find this place without being with him. So, I know it's a weird way to talk about it, but
I get it.
It's I think having that time with him, and also Bob set up rehearsals with us on the weekends and stuff to go over big scenes and to work on stuff, and that was such a gift. I've only done one other project where that happened, and that was Fargo.
Okay.
That Bob was also in, right? Season 1 of Fargo is we would all get together and mess around with the material and stuff before we had to show up on set together. That, especially coming from theater the way I do, that was just such a beautiful gift. I feel like that whole season was just a little moment in time, little ball of goodness.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, and the writers. You know, our storyline changed after we did the first episode, and that never, ever happens. The fact that they were willing to do, that's a lot of work for them. The Kettlemans were not supposed to quite get as big as they did, storyline-wise, and that's never happened to me before. And I just, that they had everything written out and then they changed. So, like, that was also a massive gift, especially for a character like Betsy. It was. Well,
take some credit there too, though. I mean, you and Jeremy both. Okay, you do.
I jumped off a cliff. Jeremy and I both jumped off a cliff. I mean, I was. Sometimes I would have a creative panic attack the night before shooting because I was like, I don't know if this is bad or good. Like I'd never played anyone like her on camera. And I don't know if we've really seen many people like her on camera.
Not too many.
At that moment. Right. So because I'd never played anyone like her on camera, I didn't know how it was going to...
You had nothing to base it on.
Well, because the camera is... the camera can read your thoughts. It sees things that you don't necessarily see live. That's the difference between theater and film, right? And I didn't know how Betsy was going to play inside the camera. Like, I didn't know how that was going to translate. But when Vince Gilligan looks at you and says, yes, that's it, do that, you say, yes, sir, and you do it.
That's right.
You know? I mean, you just do it. You just trust him and jump, you know?
Yeah.
You just leap right off the cliff. Yeah.
Well, I like the way you talked about the pocket being like this, and I got to see it firsthand as a spectator, not with the show, but when you come on before and when both of you are in character. And yes, I know you and Jeremy had some emails and some phone calls and maybe some Zoom calls working on a little bit of a shtick for the show, but you pulled it off so quickly, and there's no lines. It was just dialogue between the two of you, and because for fans that didn't get a chance to see that interview, because we were in the midst of COVID last year and still are, it was both Julie Ann and Jeremy were acting like they were in quarantine in different rooms. Meanwhile, they're in different houses. So like, hey, honey, you're shouting to the person. That was great.
Opposite coasts.
Yeah,
you're right, totally opposite coast. Yeah, we didn't rehearse bits necessarily. But we came up with ideas and we decided what had happened together since then. We worked on our backstory since then, so we could, and then we decided how we were going to sort of justify not being in the same room together,
which was great.
So we did figure that out, but we did this. It felt really similar. We did the DVD commentary for episode 7 in season 1.
Yeah.
Jeremy and I went to a sound studio in New York, and we did the whole commentary in character as the Kettlemans. So it felt a lot like that. Like we had gotten together because we didn't know all our instructions were just watch the episode and be the Kettlemans.
Okay.
And so and some things were alarming. Like in that episode, Jonathan Banks breaks into our house, and we watched them break into our house, and I was like, oh God. I mean, there were things that came up that were interesting. I mean, it was, neither of us could remember what had happened in that 45 minutes after we were done.
Yeah.
But, we just decided we just got together a little beforehand and decided our history and just kind of went. But look, Jeremy and I are, not all actors can do that together either. Jeremy and I give and take with each other incredibly well. Like it's very seamless for us.
He's wonderful. I could just picture.
He's so good, and he's the best partner. I mean, I can't fathom having done it with anyone else.
Well, that's wonderful. I love him too. He's great. We're going to jump back to Super Chats in just a moment, but I think we'll maybe go over to some of those audio questions. We have some questions coming up from Zoko Santos, Bob Rich, Cinema Dave, and from Aya. So we'll jump over to some audio. This one's going to be from Karina. Karina is one of our head moderators here, and this is a question from her.
Hi, Julie. Welcome back. My name is Karina, and my question is, was the character of Lara Featherstone on Preacher the most physically challenging role you've played? Obviously, there were stunt people, but did you have to do a lot of physical training as well?
Good question.
Yes, on both those counts. I took karate for a while as an adult. I have like a black belt in, a purple belt in Taekwondo. And I used to dance, when I was doing theater. So I really like the physical aspect of things. So on Preacher, anytime you're not on set, you're probably in with the stunt team, working a stunt or working a fight scene. You're probably having a fight call, which was definitely true, especially with season 4 for me. You don't really have days off. And it was demanding, but it was the kind of demanding work that I love. I love. I even did some wire work in season 4 of the show that was one of the scariest things I've done, because I did a dead drop for that jump off the cliff with the squirrel suit.
Yeah.
And the dead drop, just until the wires catch you, it just feels like I just jumped off, a super high platform. So it's it was cool and wonderful. And that stunt team is run by John Koyama, and he is so insanely talented, and he is also one of the most decent men I have known in the business, and his entire team is that way. I've never known a stunt team like them. It is not testosterone driven. It is creative and brilliant and inclusive, and I know that I did things for them because I trusted him so implicitly. And frankly, that stunt team injured themselves to keep me safe more than once. Like if they saw something starting to go in the least bit wrong, they will throw themselves between me and whatever is on the other side to keep me from being injured. And I can't possibly say enough about them. The amount of stunt work we did on Preacher is not something that most television shows do.
Sure.
Preacher was one of the first to do that amount. And it's intense. It takes an incredible amount of time and dedication and physicality, and those guys throw themselves around. I mean, I can't believe what I watch them do to their bodies. They have to be in some form of injury at all times, but you would never know it. They're happy and wonderful. And I can't possibly say enough good things about them. Because I'm game, I did a lot. I do tend to do a lot. The insurance has stopped me.
Okay.
Several times.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah, that's enough. Now,
yeah.
Now Jade, my stunt double, will do this. That's enough. That's enough. Like, so, I tend to be, what do they call me in Australia? A right ripper. I tend to be a bit of a ripper about it.
Okay.
Was it good? Yeah. Well,
it sounds like these people are almost like the Secret Service for the president. I mean, they're willing to take a bullet basically for the actors.
Yeah, that's their mandate, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever happens, the actor does not get hurt. And we're doing intense stuff, and when you're working on camera, I mean, I've gotten popped, like it's because once you're in a close up, sure it's about angle, but you still have to come this close.
Yeah.
Like you can't be more than that far away. It's very and when you're in that scene, if you're in the scene with a stunt person, they'll never you'll never get hit, you'll never do anything. But sometimes it would be me and Ruth, because we were very committed and we worked very hard on our stunts and we really wanted to do it. So they were able to do shots with us that they wouldn't normally get.
Yes.
Because we worked, because we showed up for rehearsal, fight calls so much together, we were able to do that. But, you know, as the actor, you have to bring something more to it than just the execution of the punch and keeping somebody safe. Like, you have to actually put some anger or testosterone or energy behind it in a way. And sometimes that goes a little wrong, you know.
Agreed for sure. Here is a question from Lori, and I have to apologize. I don't remember what Lori had sent. She's one I told you off the air that it just has like these deep questions that usually stumps the guest. So let's see what Lori has for us this evening.
Hi, Julie. This is Lori. When you studied at the conservatory, you won the Marcia Mason Scholarship. I was wondering if you ever had a chance to meet Marcia. Also, I've heard that you're a big Star Trek fan. Do you have a favorite character or episode? Thanks a lot.
There you go.
Okay, so first of all, I am definitely a Trekkie. I also like Star Wars, and I don't believe there's any conflict, and there's no argument with that for me. So
awesome.
You know, keep your thoughts about that too. Yeah. For me, my Star Trek is Next Generation, and that will always be TNG will always be my Star Trek. Let's talk about Marcia Mason. Okay. So I did win the Marcia Mason Scholarship. My mom put me through college, and money was tight. So that scholarship helped me so much and was a big deal. I auditioned for a play, oh my God, 10 years ago, maybe even more, that Marcia Mason was directing.
Oh, wow.
I met her, and we sat and talked about... I told her I wouldn't have been able to stay at school if I had not won the Marcia Mason Scholarship at my conservatory.
Wow.
And we did get to I was so thrilled to get to, thank her in person for that. I mean, it meant so much to me.
I can tell.
And she's, her body of work is wide, and she's directing a ton now, like theater-wise, and yeah. But thank you. I love that question. Thank you.
She has good ones for sure. They are all of our fans.
Great in life when you have those moments where you get to where something good has come to you, and you get to give a little back, or actually say to someone, you gave me something that changed my life, that made a big difference for me right in the moment when I needed it. I'm trying to use that analogy right now in my life. I'm trying to be kind of a conduit. If something good comes to me,
whatever it is, I'm trying to be the conduit and pass it on, as opposed to being the sponge and taking all of it. It's nice to
pay it forward, right?
Yes.
You try to pay it forward, reach back, help other people. My thing is if you want to complain about what's bad in your life or bad in the world, then you also have to acknowledge what's good.
Yeah, of course.
So if you want to be able to look at someone and call them out for bad behavior, then you also have to look at that same person and say, this was a really good thing you did. Well done. Thank you for that. That was lovely. I think we don't, God, especially with social media now, we don't balance ourselves.
I know, it's one or the other.
Yeah, and I think we need both in our life.
Yeah. I agree. Very, very well said, and good advice. Here's something that was just a cappella that came in, and actually I don't mean to say a cappella, but I did mean to say a cappella. This is from Brian David. Says, is Julie going to sing John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt a cappella?
We learned, I don't know them anymore, but we learned 4 verses of that song and never used it.
I think you mentioned something on Twitter about it the other day, or someone did. I could
possibly sing it without Jeremy.
There you go. We need him. Okay, we'll jump over to a question from Kathy Lattis, and I hope I'm pronouncing Kathy's last name right, but some Kathy. Here we go.
So many of these people I recognize from Twitter. You guys talk to me on Twitter. I love it. Thank you so much.
And I gotta give you credit on that too. When you were here last time with Tom and I and Jeremy, you stayed on Twitter for and I'm not putting you on the spot. I just want to thank you for what you did for the fans after that. There's Q&As that we just couldn't answer all the questions. And talk about caring about your fans. So thank you for what you did after the show. So here's from Kathy.
Hi, Julie. This is Kathy. I just wanted to tell you how great I think you are. And your performance as Betsy Kettleman is amazing. Speaking of Betsy K, I was wondering if she was possibly based on anyone in particular, like a family member or a friend. Thank you.
Kathy, I don't know how I could possibly answer that without getting myself in trouble. I don't know how Okay, I'll say this because I think I said it on an insider podcast for the show when it was airing. When we were doing our character work and Jeremy and I were locating the Kettlemans, like, who are they? We were sharing a lot of YouTube videos and documentaries, and we were, passing them back and forth saying, oh, I think there's this thing that they're like, or this thing right here. So there are definitely things that we took from in real life. Mostly for me, I wanted Betsy to be the kind of woman that would smile. And when she smiled at you, you were like, who is buried in your backyard? Oh my God, who is buried in your backyard? And there are YouTube videos that Jeremy and I were passing back and forth that were with many of those kinds of women. So yeah, but especially if there were anyone in my real life, I couldn't possibly answer that question fully. That would be bad.
That's true. Well, we do know the name, at least Betsy portion, came partially as for inspiration from Betsy Brandt.
Yes, but Betsy Brandt is lovely. She's nothing like Betsy
I know.
Kettleman.
I know.
She's just the namesake. I mean, she is a lovely human.
And she got to cut loose here on the show. Boy, did she ever cut loose when we had her on. I think Tom was still with us. And was Tom with us? I think so. And it was just absolutely a hoot with her. Because, I mean, she can really, get a glass of wine and she can cut, cut loose. It was great. So we have one more audio question. Then I'm going to try my very, very best to jump over to as many of the text questions. And I'm even pulling a lot of mine off tonight just to honor our fans that have the greatest questions. So here's one from Sharon Dean. She also goes, you probably see her by Blazy Gardner on Twitter. She loves you.
On Twitter, yeah.
Yeah. All right, here she is.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Julie Ann. Thank you for being on tonight. This is Sharon D. from North Carolina. You've been acting since you were 16, and you've been in many different kinds of shows and movies. Is there an aspect of the business you would like to be involved in that you haven't had the opportunity to? Thank you for answering. Have a great night.
Great question.
So that's a great question. So I am a bit of a guerrilla filmmaker. I had a digital series back in 2009, 2010. We had so little money, we shot on camcorders from Best Buy. Like $150 camcorders from Best Buy. My brilliant actor friends, my mama would come up to New York on every shoot day and just cook all day long and feed everybody. I would like to write and direct on a larger scale for more than the nickel that we did my digital series for. And I have been doing some writing projects, and I'm attached to a couple of things as a director. So we'll just see. Maybe I'm hopeful that one of those or a couple of those projects will play out down the road. But I'm definitely interested in. I think we need more female voices in the business and in art in general. And I am able to write, so I think there's a responsibility to do that right now. And I mean, I would never. I'm embarrassed to call myself a writer at all on. Like when I think about the Better Call Saul writers room, like it's I'm a baby writer director still, but I'm hopeful that I can move into that part of the business as time moves on.
I hope so too. One of my good friends, Glenn Mazzara, I loved Glenn so much when he was show writing for The Walking Dead, but he is a champion for women writers and women in the business, and we do need more for sure. And look at the writers room. Look at some of the episodes that have been written by some of the greatest women writers and greatest writers. They just happen to be...
I got to tell you, Jen Hutchison wrote two of my 4 episodes of Better Call Saul, and she climbed inside Betsy's mind with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I read her first episode 4. She wrote the one in the woods where I tried to buy him off with the money.
Yeah.
And then she also wrote episode 7. But she climbed in Betsy's head in a way that I never expected a writer to climb in. Like that, it was one of the most extraordinary experiences to read that first script and go, oh my God, she climbed in this bizarre mind with me. Like
yeah.
I didn't even quite have the words for Betsy at that point, and she climbed in there with me and did it between episodes 1 and 4. Like did it quickly. We have some extraordinary women out there.
Yes.
It just like Jen should be running her own show. Like it's past time. Come on, guys. Like
she's great.
Yeah, like I mean, we have women out there who are just extraordinary, and I look forward to seeing more and more and more of them show up in bigger and bigger ways. Yeah.
We had a wonderful conversation. She stopped back to before the new year, and she was by the show as well too. Wonderful conversation. The fans loved her. We all do. So a great.
Amazing. She's also an amazing human being. She's
yes.
so wonderful. She's just brilliantly talented, and I look forward to the day that she is the creator of her. That she's created her own show. I just look forward to the day that studios and networks finally get on the Jen Hutchison train in the way they should.
I agree for sure. Here's a nice comment from Jennifer Stevens. It's a super chat. She says, we need a Betsy bobblehead. We have our friends Warren from Royal Baubles here in the chat. He's jumping in right now. And they're actually a sponsor of the show. You probably heard at the beginning of the show. Have you seen some of their bobbleheads that they have?
Of course I have.
Right.
I mean, Preacher goes to Comic-Con all the time, of course.
Well, there you go. But I just thought of that now. I mean, you know, I've had some calls with Warren, and I can't share what the things that they were talking about, but I could see the Kettleman collection would be great as bobbleheads. I mean, you could with the bob hair,
the little bobble family.
Oh, I mean, Betsy has the bob hair already, so imagine that little bobblehead. That'd be great. And Jeremy's, Craig's sad eyes, like no life in his soul. That would be great. So the good suggestion. And Warren, wink, wink. Let's see what we can do on that. This is a super chat, or actually just a chat from Zoko Santos. Says, Julie, how was your experience on a true story telling of Fargo, than a lawyer crime storyline in Better Call Saul? So maybe the difference is between that. And which project did you like more? I like your performance on Fargo more. So yeah, like kind of, make believe as opposed to crime drama, kind of still, somewhat made up. But is there a difference in what you like better about either of them?
So Fargo is based on a true story.
Right.
I mean, it's not actually a true story. Those are not actually true stories.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my Kevin is. We were just talking about Kevin earlier. He's asked. It's not an actual bobblehead. I have a fan made me a version. It's not a bobblehead, but
let's see it. Let's see it.
It's here of Lara Featherstone, of my character from Preacher. And I have one of Pip as well. So a fan sent me these, but they're not official bobbleheads. They're just inspired.
Oh, like Funkos. Oh, that's perfect. Look at them.
Like a Funko Pop. Right. But they're like this really lovely woman made them.
They're great.
I know, and that's like a little thing. Oh, yeah. Anyway,
good call, Kevin. That was good.
The lovely other half. Yes. So we're talking about Fargo. So Fargo is fictional. It's not. I think. Fargo is. Ida was. You're talking about characters on opposite ends of the spectrum. So, for example, I always said they brought in Ida on Fargo season 1 when they were worried they'd gone too dark.
Okay.
Like Ida was like the light in the darkness. She was maybe the most normal character on the show. Maybe Keith Carradine's character is pretty grounded and normal as well, but she was very kind-hearted and like good Midwestern. Like she was a great, kind Midwesterner. And that was so my job on that show was to be that light in the darkness and to kind of pull everything back to like the audience level of normal. My job on Better Call Saul, I was doing that first scene we had with Bob that we were shooting in the diner in episode 1, and a thought struck me like lightning. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to make him look normal. Like Bob's character on Better Call on Breaking Bad was the most out there character. Like if your parameters on Breaking Bad are here, Bob lived, toward the edge. But he was the center of Better Call Saul.
Yep.
Especially as Jimmy, he was grounded, and I was like, oh, I have to make him look normal. So my job was to push those outer boundaries. So that's just a sort of a. Those are just two different. They're definitely two different characters, but that's also a different
world. Job
in the story itself. I'm always looking for what's my job in the telling of this story.
Yeah.
In terms of choosing, I could no sooner choose. Asking me to choose a favorite, a favorite character, a favorite project, is like asking you to choose a favorite child. Like
exactly.
There's no way I could do that. I will say Fargo and Better Call Saul are two of the projects I'm most proud to have been part of in my career, for sure.
Nice. Very nice. And seeing to all your lovely, Kevin just popped in here a second ago. Kevin, I just found out that you and I share a love for Dr. Pepper. I'm drinking Dr. Pepper tonight. No sponsorship, of course. He's a diet Dr. Pepper. I'm going for all the caffeine and calories and all that bad stuff. So anyways, jump over to, that was from Zoko Santos, and this is from Bob Rich. Bob's a regular of the show and a friend. Says, hi, Julie. What are a few of your favorite moments or scenes from TV, whether drama or comedy? So nothing necessarily about you, just things that you love. What made those scenes are so rewarding for you to watch? It could be shows that you are in or just shows that you enjoy. So maybe since we talked about some of your lovely career, maybe we'll talk about something outside of your career maybe.
Yeah, so I am a big TV watcher, and we've talked about my love for all things Trek. I loved Killing Eve. I loved, we're deep into WandaVision right now. I'm going to leave this podcast interview tonight and go finish WandaVision, so no spoilers, please. Big into Mandalorian. Just about anything that's well crafted, I will sit and watch and love. We've had quite a lot of great, well-crafted television in the last 5 years. I mean, look, Better Call Saul should be winning the Emmy every year, but but we are in an embarrassment of riches right now with television. I was a big Game of Thrones fan, but I was a big fan of the books of Game of Thrones long before the series came along.
Okay.
So it's obviously I like fantasy and sci-fi quite a lot. Yeah.
I loved Game of Thrones as well greatly, and then I didn't get a chance to appreciate the book, so I could only compare the television.
The books are, I highly recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a question from Aya. Says, hi, Julie. If this is a good, we're hypothesizing here. Hi, Julie. If you could be a character on Breaking Bad, which one would you choose? Now, as you know, and maybe in your case, I don't know how many roles you auditioned for, but a lot of the guests that have been on the show, they've auditioned for different roles on Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and they get a particular one. But if you could be one, and maybe it is the one that you did play, but if you could be someone else, who might that be?
Yeah, I don't know that I would trade Betsy for anyone else, but if I could be on Breaking Bad without having to give up Betsy.
Yeah.
I think, and this really speaks to my tendencies as to what I'm drawn to as an actress. Like, I should say Lydia, but the truth is, the minute that Betsy Brandt shoplifted that for the first time,
yep,
I was so in with her. Like, I so would have loved that. And that's what comes to, I guess I like characters with opposites. I like women with a twist. I like unexpected women.
Mm-hmm. And you nailed it with that one, because she seems like she's got everything, and she's got a great career. Marie did, and Hank, obviously a good career. They lived. Money was not an option for that couple, but yet she was lacking something, and she cried for attention. And being a kleptomaniac was her cry for help.
The second that she shoplifted the first time, I was like, oh yes,
yes. Normal person, right? None of this, just perfect family, because it just doesn't exist, right? Here is a question from Renata, one of our friends, and also moderators here in the chat. How much did you get to interact with Ethan and Joel Cohen during the filming of season 1 of Fargo? I am obsessed with them, she says.
They were not on set with us.
Okay.
I know they were producers, so they were involved in pre-production and in post, but not, we were up in Calgary where it was 40 below. So they were not on set with us. Noah Hawley was on set with us. I have met them though. I came down to the wire on No Country for Old Men. So I met with them several times during that process and really loved them. They're very different from each other, but, and obviously I'm a giant fan of their work. And then I saw Ethan again, for a play that he was doing at the Atlantic in New York after that.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. And thank you for that question as well, too, Renata. Here's a really good one from Dilly Diamonds. I like this one. What makes the director, now film or stage, great from the actor's perspective?
Yeah. So, in the television world especially, you shoot so fast that very often you get directors out of necessity that come more from the DP side of things than the actor side of things. So
Okay.
you're left to your own devices quite a lot. I think every actor would answer that question differently, what they love in a director. I like a director whose eye I trust to tell me where my parameters are. Like, when am I too big or too small, or when am I outside the bounds of what we're doing here? Which was very important with Betsy Kettleman. And I'm not a big fan of unnecessary conflict. So I like a director with a great temperament.
Okay.
I think the sets that move the fastest, in my experience, are also the happiest. The sets that tend to move the slowest are the ones where there's a lot of yelling. Yeah. And it just doesn't inspire people the way I think that they think it does. It doesn't move things along that way. So I think temperament has become very important to me in directors as well. Because, look, there's a lot of, like, jumping off a cliff or shedding your outer defenses when you're an actor. You have to let the camera in. And depending on the scene, that it can be an emotional scene or not, but whatever you're doing, you have to, like, strip away whatever your coping mechanisms are for life and let the audience in on the inside of what's happening with this person. Because if it's just the lines, it's not as interesting for us, right? We want to know what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what's happening on the inside. It's very hard to do that when the second cut comes around and your body goes, oh, I need to protect myself, right? I need to, So I think temperament has become important to me as well.
And that's good. And that, like you said, too, if we asked probably 10 different actors, we might find 10 different stories. But I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, I do a lot of homework. I like to come very prepared. Mm-hmm. And I love nothing more than a director who thinks of something I haven't thought of.
Yeah.
I kind of think my job is to come in with 10 different ways to play the scene at minimum. Like, based, at least. And if a director comes to me and tells me something I haven't thought of, I'm probably yours for life. Like, I'm probably going to be like, Sam Catlin used to do that. Our showrunner on Preacher would always direct an episode every season. And every time he would come up to me and he would say, what if it's this? And I'm like, damn it. How did I not think of that?
I know.
But honestly, I would sweep the floor on one of Sam's sets. So that's a special thing, I think, that doesn't happen all that often. Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned Sam, because that's a note I had here. I was gonna ask you a question. We're just gonna touch base on it. But the fact, and we'll just say this, that you got to work with some Breaking Bad alum, with Sam and Dave Porter again. I mean, you didn't necessarily work with Dave Porter, but Dave's
Michael Slovis.
Exactly.
Michael Slovis was our producing director on Preacher.
Yes.
So not only was he one of our directors, but he was with us all season, every year. So and what a joy that was. I mean, he really. And what a steal for Sam to get Michael to come over to Preacher.
I know.
Yeah.
We had a wonderful talk with Michael, and when I got off the air with Michael that night, I felt like I talked to the man that walked on the moon. One of the men that walked on the moon. I shouldn't say the man. I felt it's just amazing what he's done, and he's one of those guys that's not like you say when I come to the show, they wanted to stick cameras and toilets and this and that and stuff like that, and I'm not like that. You want me here's how I'm going to do things, and man, did he do an incredible job.
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we're getting close to the end of the program here, we're going to be wrapping up here soon. One of the things I wanted to just kind of, spitball a little bit and hypothesize on, season 6, you saw the team put up, a 6-13 up on the card, on the board, representing that the final episode is being broken, the series finale, and we say goodbye to some of the characters that we love. Now, number one, are you getting excited for it? And number two, I know even that you're not on the show anymore, you're always going to be a fan of the show. Do you have any theories or things that you'd like to see happen? That kind of thing.
The theory thing, I would only engage in if I'd never been on the show. So I'm not going to invest in some fan theories. I will say this. When I started on season 1, I was like, I am so excited to see the roller coaster of how Jimmy McGill becomes this Saul Goodman we meet in Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's a damn story. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And I'm very much looking forward to what they do with Ray, with Kim Wexler this season.
Yes.
I really am dying to know where that relationship is going. But I when I saw that they put up the 613 on the board, and I will say this as well. I think that they ended Breaking Bad at the right time, even though we were all clamoring for more. So I'm going to trust that they're ending Better Call Saul at the right time as well, even though it's going to leave me clamoring for more for sure. But when I saw that 613 go, this has truly been one of the most creative and brilliant teams I've ever worked with, but also one of the most decent. And that writer's room, that production team, that crew that cast is so full of decent human beings doing artistic work at the very highest levels. And working with that group really restored a lot of my faith. There can be bad behavior on sets, and they just wasn't that. None of that. Ego sometimes in our business gets confused with talent, and that lives nowhere in this universe. And I feel so honored to have been a small part of it, and it makes me sad to think that writer's room is going to be finished soon and breaking up and going their separate ways, or maybe not. Maybe they'll all wind up together on something.
You never know.
But it's just such a special group, and you could call it lightning in a bottle, except that Better Call Saul, I think, from a storytelling place, is as successful as Breaking Bad. 100%. So I don't think I don't think that's lightning in a bottle. I think that's brilliantly talented people truly working together for the greater good, for the good of the whole. And that's a really special thing where ego is kind of left out of it. Vince is so generous with other people and with giving people credit for their work, and I think that influences everything right down the line to the last PA, and that's something really special that doesn't exist all that often, and that makes me sad that is that environment is kind of going away. I
can feel your sadness from here, and it's very beautifully said the way you explain that. And what you're saying has been said differently, but the same from so many people I've had on. They've all talked about the family, egos at the door. There's just no egos involved. Even check at the door with that organization, and that's everyone from catering to the crew, cast, and crew. So very wonderful. Here's maybe what we'll do as we wrap up. I mean, that's a perfect way to wrap up with a beautiful story and being part of that family. So we know how good these writers are, the men and women in that room. So we're just going to have some fun hypothesizing here. So we're not going to ask you what your theories are, but
they'll come up with something way better than I could come up with. I mean, it's a brilliant writer's room. They've got way better plans than I could come up with.
So that being said, okay, and maybe who knows this? The answer to this might be Betsy and Craig. It might be something else. So we know how competent they are as a team. I tried to pick Vince's brain. Are you going to be putting your feet up on the coffee table? What's next? Are there more stories from within the Gilliverse? And Vince is smart as they come. He knows when to get out. And he says he's going to revisit some years down the road. Who knows what that means? It could be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, never. Who knows? But with that team, who do you think could, and no, keep in mind, the scripts mean everything, and any good show. The script can be a flop. A script can make it or break it. Who could have their own show as a spinoff? So we've got Saul Goodman. I mean, that's what this became as part of your life. Who else is out there? Is it like a Mike Ehrmantraut? Is it the Kettlemans? Can you name a Ray Seahorn or like a Kim Wexler? Can you just give a one character that could be successful with that team writing it?
I almost think any of those characters could. Like, I mean, a prequel series where you see Mike Ehrmantraut as a young man and how he left the police force. Like, how did that all play out for him? That I find fascinating. And then, or do you want to go down the rabbit hole of Giancarlo's character in a prequel kind of way? I mean, I think that can be true. Also, where the hell is Jesse Pinkman? Like, I think, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I think there are a number of answers to that question. And with that group of writers, I mean, I'm dying to know what happens to Kim Wexler.
I know.
I'm dying to know where she goes from here. And she's been so attracted to the naughty side of Jimmy that if he's absent from her life, I'm wondering what that becomes for her. Like, yeah, I think, here's the truth. I think with that group of writers, they could successfully spin off whatever character they want.
They could.
I think you're talking about talented creators and talented writers. I think it's, I don't think anybody thought, look, I was part of 2 shows that no one thought was a good idea until we were on the air.
Sure.
Fargo season 1. No one thought Fargo season 1 was nobody thought a TV show of Fargo was a good idea. The internet was horrible about it.
Yeah.
Until we shot the first 2 episodes, and then we took a break for a month over the holiday and came back. And over that month, they put those 2 episodes in post, and they showed them at the TCAs to critics, and the critics lost their minds for it.
Uh-oh.
I've never been on a show in the middle of filming where the mood shifted so heavily from when we started to when we started episode 3. The same was true for Better Call Saul. Nobody thought it was a good idea to spin off Breaking Bad. That's not how people remember it now, but that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
Nobody thought it was a good idea, and nobody thought it was a good idea to do it about Saul. Like, because he was the most out there character on Breaking Bad. The truth is, it works because of these writers.
Mm-hmm.
It works because these writers made it work. I mean, who saw Better Call Saul is not Saul, he's Jimmy McGill? Like, who saw that coming?
Nobody.
And he's got a brother who's afraid of electricity. Like, who saw any of that coming?
That's right.
Like, I think when you're talking about creatives like this, I think that,
Anything is possible.
Toss up 10 balls, and any one of them that gets caught out of the air could be something good and wonderful.
I agree. Well, we're going to be wrapping it up soon. It's going to be 2022 before we'll see that on our TVs, and I'm comfortable with that because there's 3 extra episodes this season. They're just wrapping that up now as far as the final one, and it's going to be great. It's going to be bittersweet. We're going to miss it, but who knows what could come down the road. And if that's all we get, all of us, I think, are thrilled with what we had.
Yeah, I am. I mean, look, the truth is, it's not, shows that last 10 years are generally procedural shows. Like shows like Saul, even Preacher ended after 4 seasons. We maybe could have gone another season, but I think it was, that was a choice by Seth and Evan and Sam to say, we want a proper ending.
Yeah.
We're guaranteed season 4. We're going to do it. And I think we're in that moment with television where it's, some stories are finite,
mm-hmm.
right? And stretching them out for too long of a time, it dilutes the story to the point where it's not the thing that you're in love with anyway. So I think it's right. I mean, was always going to become Saul Goodman, mm-hmm. right? And that's a finite journey. So I think it's good. I think they're going out probably in the right way.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, a fantastic way to wrap up. This has been, I knew it was going to be a pleasure speaking with you again. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. Always a delight to talk to you, and thank you for gracing us with your time. A great way to start the weekend. So first and foremost, thank you. And I've made some notes here as well, too. So I don't forget the important people that also make the show happen. So I want a big thank you to Warren and Rachel at Royal Baubles, bobbleheads.com, being a sponsor in the show and believing in us. We love
very fancy sponsors, by the way. Very fancy.
Yes.
I know. When they said that in the intro, I was like, damn, that's very fancy.
Yeah, well, we love working with them, and we have a great relationship and love that. And thanks to our team at Rode Microphones as well for making my voice sound as good as I can make it sound. We'd like to thank all of our channel members, our Patreon supporters, our channel moderators, our subscribers, our super chatters, our PayPal donators, and those that purchase our merch from the Broad Stash Boutique. You can get these cups and mugs and all that kind of fun stuff. We'd like you to also, actually, if you're new here tonight, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below, and I promise to work just as hard to keep you as a subscriber as I did to get you. And even if I didn't work hard to get you tonight, I promise I'll work hard to keep you. We'd like you to tune in next week if you can. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I got to get those time zones right. The lovely Adrienne Levette will be here. She plays Mouse in season 5. You recognize her from that. We're looking forward to having her on here. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Inside The Gilliverse, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Julie Ann, don't take off. I'll say goodbye to you off the air. Kevin, thanks for stopping by tonight, and I'm glad we share some Dr. Peppers together, and we'll...
I'm going to hop on Twitter if you didn't get your question answered. I'll be around for about the next hour.
No problem. Just tag MGN Channel, everybody, and tag Julie Ann as well. And ask any questions that you didn't get answered here, and she's a trooper that way. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next week. Have a safe weekend out there, and we'll look forward to seeing you right here on the same channel, Inside the Gilliverse. Until then, cheers.
Thanks again for tuning into Inside the Gilliverse with Eric Broadbent. Be sure to check back each week for more great discussions and interviews with cast and crew from Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends.